Hey guys, hey, we have 50 people already. Great. So we'll wait a little more. So just to give you an introduction, this is going to be an introductory session about a full stack development project. And the project is where you will build a file sharing web app similar to Dropbox. So I hope you guys know what a file sharing web app is. Dropbox, Google Drive. So these are all like file sharing web apps. So this is going to be like a power pack project where you will basically work for close to 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how much time you commit. And it will be like you'll work like a full stack developer at a tech company. So the prerequisite is that like you have some basic programming knowledge. Everything else you will learn on the go. But the core like the core value proposition here is that you will know how it is like to work in a real environment as a developer, and which is a very important skill right now, because a lot of people do courses, have basic programming knowledge, but companies, especially startups who are the ones hiring the most right now, what they look for is whether you have done projects, whether you can start contributing from day one. And like that is a very important skill to have. And just knowing data structure and algorithm doesn't cut it anymore, especially in like this highly competitive environment. So yeah, like without further delay, I will hand it over to Anant. So Anant will guide you in this project, and today he'll give you an overview of the project. So as simple as it might sound, a file sharing web app is also quite complicated. So there are like different aspects to it. He'll break it down, what all different aspects are there to the project. And he'll also give you a small idea on how to get started. And so after that, like he'll guide everyone who has enrolled in the project, because he can only guide limited amount of participants and his time is limited. There is an enrollment fee if you want his guidance, and if you want him to evaluate your project and give feedback, and at the end get a project certificate and recommendation letter from his company. So because he can only do it for limited participants, there is a small fee. And like once you enroll, you will get guidance from him for completing that. Yeah. So Anant, you can go ahead with this. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jiren. Thanks for. Yeah. Thanks, Jiren. So.
Anant, sorry, like there's some echo coming from your end. Is the YouTube live on?
No, it's not on my end, Jiren. Yeah, now I think it's clear. So, hi everyone. I am Anant, and I have a good amount of software experience. So I've been developing web apps since like 10 years. So this project, we have brought this project to you guys so that you can get a first-hand experience of a developer. So what does a developer do and all. You can understand all of it firsthand. So in this project, so if you want to do this project without any guidance, you can do it based on the information we provide you. Like we have a document that defines the project, and if you want guidance, we have an enrollment fee for that. Yeah. So now let's get into the project requirements. So as you know, this is like a file sharing app. So I'm sure you guys have used this Dropbox and Google Drive and similar kind of applications, or OneDrive. There are some more applications like that. So all of them, they deal with file uploads basically. And if you see, all of them, they have an authentication. So you have to be signed in. You have to have an account before you can upload files. So In this project, we are going to build a similar service, and also our service, you can name it as however you want, but for the sake of this project, we are naming it as my box or something, and the name doesn't matter here. So the feature set I've already shared in the document. You can go through that document, and in this course of the video, we'll review that document as well, and we'll go through the requirements. And also I will let you know how you can get started. Where does it start? Okay, so how the web works and all. We'll just have a brief overview on that also. So I'll share my screen now. Okay, so now this is the document. I'm sure you have the link. If you don't have the link, I think Jaren will post it in the chat. So this is like building a file sharing web app. So I'm sure you have already gone through this. So this is like this. I mean, before going through this document, also let's have a brief introduction of what does full stack mean. Okay, so because this project is for you to work like a full stack developer. So what it means to be a full stack developer is that you are comfortable with working on both the backend and front end. So typically in web applications, there is a backend and there is a web front end. So the front end is like what you see in the browser, and the backend is like all the data that is stored in the database, and all the data manipulations that go on in the database. So all those things come into the backend. So when we say full stack developer, it means that you are comfortable with both backend and front end. So that is why so this project is we are aiming to give you a full experience, so that in later in your career you may pick whatever better suits you or whatever you like more. But in the beginning, if you get this kind of experience, how everything is fitting into the puzzle. Yeah. So, and also you will learn HTTP protocol here. So HTTP protocol means the hypertext transfer protocol. So this protocol was introduced somewhere in 1990s, I think. So this HTTP protocol is so that we can access certain resources like files, or like any resource, basically any binary resource over the web, in like a browser, or in like a script anywhere. So we'll go through that in detail in this video. And we are using Python Flask framework in this project. This Python Flask framework, what it does is it is a web framework that allows us to build such applications, this kind of applications. So I mean, Python and Flask, we have basically chosen it for you. And the reason is that being if you're particularly a newbie into development, then there are like a lots of options, like Node.js is there, Java is there, and C++ is there, Python is there. So it can be very confusing as to where do I start. So since if most of you, when you start your career, you will not be deciding the language you work with in the future. I mean, for most of you, it will be like the company you work with, they will choose the language because they've already had their stack, they've already built their stack using certain technologies. So they will want you to work in that same technologies. So at this stage, you cannot know like what you will be working on in the future. So we have chosen Python and Flask because they are very easy to get started. I mean, this is like a very easy learning path to learn full stack development. But later on, as you progress, this concepts that you learn, like HTTP request response and rendering of HTML views. So all these concepts will remain the same, whatever language you develop with. Okay. So, and similarly, this Bootstrap UI framework is there. We have chosen it for you to make it easier for you to develop front ends. But you can there are different kinds of frameworks for UI. Later on, you might learn React.js or AngularJS and all. But for the sake of this project, we want you to go with pure HTML, CSS, and JS with Bootstrap UI, because this is like this is like a good starting point for you to understand how things work. Later on, and don't consider that this is like everything there is to learn for becoming a full stack developer. So the concepts that you learn here, you will apply them in the future. And so you might have heard already, you might be knowing, so in the technology sector you should always be open to learning new technologies. So in the future you may do something else, but doing this will let you grasp some very important concepts that will make it easier for you in the future. And so this database, we have chosen MongoDB. And so in the last, if you were part of the last crawler project, you might have seen that we were saying you are free to choose any database that you want. But in for the sake of this project, we are fixing it to MongoDB, because because of it, it's easy for me to evaluate, and for you also it is good that you know MongoDB. I mean, later on you can, for other projects you can use SQL and all as well. So, and one more thing that you will learn in this project is building authentication flows. So this is something that every web application has. I mean, most web applications have authentication flows today. So all of them have some kind of create account and login features, so that the user is identified. I mean, who is using the app is identified, and we can show them data based on the user. Different users see different things. So to do that, building authentication flow is compulsory. So, and we want you to build an authentication flow yourself, all by yourself, because building this flow will improve your logic a lot. Okay, what is happening, and so what is happening behind the scenes? How is authentication handled? What are sessions? What are cookies? And what are tokens? You will understand all of this when you build an authentication flow. So, and the next thing you will learn is handling file uploads and downloads. So this is something specific to web frameworks. So you might have seen there's you download files from the web regularly, and you also upload files to the web regularly. So in this project, you will understand how they are handled at the server. So when you upload a file to Google Drive, or like a Dropbox like service, you will understand how they are storing it, how they are accessing that file, and how they are handling that file. So you may upload a lot of pictures, like you use WhatsApp or Telegram, like these IM services. All of them have file upload and file download endpoints, API endpoints. So this is you will understand this also in this project. So these are the project stages. So this is like a breakup of what we think you can do for a week on week. Okay, so you can do this stage by stage, or you can approach it in any manner. But this is like we have suggested these stages. Okay. So in the first stage, you'll be learning fundamentals that are required for this project, and so the fundamentals are again Python, HTML, CSS, JS, Bootstrap, and Flask framework, and MongoDB. So you will understand how all these are working. Okay, and in the stage two, the first thing you'll be building for this web app is the login and sign up pages and the authentication flow. So in this so this is like the critical stage of this application, guys. So in this stage itself, when you build this stage, you will have a fairly good idea of how things are working. So in this stage itself, you will understand a lot of things. And if you implement this right with this knowledge, you can doing this files and file sharing will be very easy for you. Okay. So in the next stage, we'll do the file upload and file listing UI. And in the last stage, you'll do the file sharing, which is like sharing the links to files and downloading of those uploaded files. So this is like the last stage. Okay, so yeah. So this background is what I just told you. I already told you. Yeah, so here it's mentioned again. So these concepts are the same for any web app, and So they work in any other language. You can do this work in any other language using the same concepts tomorrow. So let's say today you do this using Flask, Python Flask framework. So and tomorrow somebody asks you, some company or some other project, you get some other project and they ask you to do in using Java struts framework. So it will be like, you already know the concept, you will already know what is going on behind the scenes. So all that changes is just the language. So you should just be able to learn the syntax and you'll be good to go. You'll be understanding what is servlet and what is a server, what is listening. So all these terms will be like very clear to you because you've already worked on this project. Yeah, and for the front end, you will be using Bootstrap UI framework. And during the project, you will go through various UI components available in the Bootstrap framework. So this Bootstrap UI framework, actually we'll be going through this in this video. We'll be just touching this Bootstrap UI for a little bit. But what is this Bootstrap? I'll show you. Okay, let's go to any component here. So this is like the home page of Bootstrap, but if you go to documentation here, you'll find some components. So this components page and layout page. So all these pages contain some documentation, and they also contain some code and the output. If you write this code, so this is how it will look. So let's just do a brief review at this point. So this Bootstrap is nothing but, they have, what they have done is they have basically they've compiled a list of useful classes in CSS and JavaScript and some JavaScript code, so that before Bootstrap was there, to get this kind of button. Okay, so to get this kind of blue button or to get this kind of green button in the UI, we were I mean developers used to write a big like this HTML, and they had to write some CSS for this. So what Bootstrap has done, they have compiled the list of highly common CSS that is used by all the developers, to make it easy for everybody to develop these UIs. So here you can see some other example like alerts. So this alert, you can show this kind of alert in the UI by just writing this HTML. So before this Bootstrap, it was like I should define this blue background, blue font color is blue, and there I had to define this padding, everything to get this kind of UI. But with Bootstrap, they have made it so easy that you can just get this same thing with this much of code. That's it. It all works with these classes, guys. So this is mostly CSS, and there are some components in Bootstrap that have JavaScript also, like model and all. So these are using JavaScript also, but let's go through these later. So now let's go through what you will be building. Let's see the problem details. Okay. So the first point is the web app must be secured through a login sign up feature. Users must sign up for a new account if they do not have an account, and they must log in before accessing the file sharing features of the application. So this is like any application you see, Google Drive, Dropbox and all. Before you actually upload files or before you actually see the files list, you must sign in. Okay, you must log in, or if you don't have an account, you must sign up and then log in. So it's not you, but your user. So start considering as if now you're the developer. Since you're the developer of this service, your service will be used by some users in the future. So those users should be able to create their own accounts through email and password, and then they must be able to log in through that email and password. So after logging in, users should see the list of files they have uploaded previously. They should also be able to upload new files through a drag and drop UI. So this means like in Dropbox, once you log in, you'll see the list of files that you have already previously uploaded. For new users, that list will be blank. And in that page only, you'll have some kind of upload button. And when user clicks on upload button, we'll show them a drag and drop UI from which they can upload new files. So and this point is there. The third point is we will be limiting the type of files that can be uploaded by users. So this point is done for multiple reasons, guys. The first reason is like, you will understand how to access the file type and do different actions based on those file type. And the second reason is hackers, there are hackers on the internet, so they generally try to upload certain files onto different servers, and then they use those files to run code on our servers. So to prevent that, we'll be using these file types only, we'll be allowing these file types only. I have mentioned these file types here, so you can consider this as like for security purposes, and also it is for you to understand how to access file types and how to handle different file types. Okay, so if a user uploads a file that is not among these, the system should reject the file. So let's say I upload some MP3 file or MP4 file. Since it is not allowed by the server, it should be rejected. The system should reject the file. That is, it should throw an error saying, this file type is not allowed, something like that. And the maximum allowed file size should be 20 MB. This is per file. So the maximum size of file that is allowed in this service that you build is 20 MB, and total upload size per user is 300 MB. So since like if you see Dropbox, they have like 2 GB or 3 GB of free space, and after that they sell the space. And similarly in Google Cloud, I don't know what is the limit, but it is like 5 GB or 15 GB something. So after that they sell the space. So similarly this system, in our system that you are going to build, this limit per user will be 300 MB. So this is also put for multiple reasons. The first reason is you will understand how to calculate file sizes. Okay, so all the file sizes, the sum of file sizes uploaded by the user, you will track it. And the second reason is, when you really upload this your service, you can upload it onto Heroku or some other cloud server. When you upload it, nobody can flood your server if you have this condition. Otherwise, what people will do is they will upload just hundreds of files at 20 MB limit, and your server will be full of those files. So to prevent that, you will cap the total upload size per user at 300 MB. And after that, after uploading a file, each file should have a permalink. So this permalink, I want you to search the internet and read what is a permalink. So permalink generally means like a permanent link to a resource. So it is a permanent link that is intended to remain unchanged for many years into the future. Okay, so this permalink, each file will have its own permalink, which and that link can be shared by the user with their peers or their friends. And their friends, when they click on that URL, they will see that, okay, this user has shared a file with them, and they will have the option of downloading the file. And so this link is public. This permalink can be accessed publicly, but as soon as they see the file details and click on download, the system should not allow them to download if they are not logged in. So in this system, we are only allowing logged in users to download the files. Okay. So and similarly, so to allow that, the file should not be accessible publicly to prevent non-authenticated users from downloading them. So this means that the files should not be accessible in a URL directly. So if you remember this, so this document itself was shared to you using a link, right? Something like flinkhub.com start. So this link, so you can see I'm directly accessing this file publicly. So this file is public right now. So in our system, people should not be able to access our files publicly. So they should go through this permalink, and then they should sign in, and only after they sign in, the system should allow them to download the file. Okay, and one more point is the system should track downloads. That is, which user has downloaded which file. So now when people are sharing these URLs, our system will track like which user has downloaded what file. So this is that point, and you have to implement this. Okay. So this starter UI wireframes for login, sign up, and all these pages. So these are UI wireframes, guys. So this is only for starting, and this is not like, this, you don't need to exactly follow this. I actually want you guys to be creative, because when it comes to design, there is no limit to your creativity. It is up to you, however you want to design these pages. But if you see Bootstrap, so this design generally, so if you use these Bootstrap components, your design will be more or less fixed. So you will get, so if you write a button, right, it will look like this only. But still, with CSS you can customize this also to a big extent. So let me show you once. So this is the inspect panel. So here, I'm sure, I think you know this, guys. So you right click on, you do go to inspect element. So this is the elements inspector, where I can see the code, HTML code DOM for this page. So here I'm clicking on this button, I'm inspecting this button now, and I can see there is some CSS written here. For BTN primary, they have written like color, background color, okay, and all this. But if I want to be creative, okay, I can change this in my CSS. I can say, okay, padding will be like 1 rem, okay, and border radius will be like 20 pixels or even bigger. I can increase this padding a bit. Okay, so and I can customize the color also. I can say background, I want something like, so this color. So as you can see, so I mean, I want you guys to be creative. I mean, not limit yourself to Bootstrap styles. If particularly you want to go into front end roles, but I mean, it's up to you. So as far as this project goes, there is no design limitations and there is no design considerations. We are not considering your design skills in this project. So this is a development project. So in companies, generally they will provide you the design, the colors, the buttons, and all, the what colors to be used, what padding should be there, how much spacing should be there. They provide these designs to us, to the developers. But for this project, since there is no company that has given you the designs, so we are just sharing the wireframes. So the design is up to you. So let's go through these wireframes a bit. This is the login page. I'm sure you may have seen different login pages. Okay, so this is nothing but a very plain login page. And so these things will be like a link. The sign up page will be a link, and when somebody clicks on that, it will show the sign up page. So this is the link, and here you can see we have put the name as my box, but you are free to give it any branding that you want. You can go with my box, or you can go with my Dropbox, or my files, or anything like that, file upload, anything like that. So here, so this is the sign up page. The user will not be providing name, so we are not interested in name, date of birth, and all at this stage. So they'll just put their email address, and they'll put their password, their chosen password, and write it again to confirm it, and then they'll sign up. So once they sign up, what you'll do, you'll save this information in the user's data, and you'll create an account basically, and then you will send them to the login page. So from this page, again, the user will put their email address and password, and they'll log in. So once they log in to this system, then they will see this kind of page. Okay, so this page is the files list. We are calling this as the list of files. Okay, so this is how the list of files will look. So in this project, we have decreased the scope. There are no folders, so you don't need to implement folders. Will just be uploading. The users will just be uploading files, just the files. So this is like a list of uploaded files. We are showing the file name, size, and uploaded date when it was uploaded. And so so here there is an upload button, guys. I want you to pay attention to this button here. And for each of these files, there is a share button and there is a delete button. Okay. So when user wants to upload a new file, they will click on this upload button. And when they click on this upload button, they will see this kind of a model, which is a pop-up dialog. Okay, so this has a lot of different names. So in Bootstrap, it is called model. So if you go to this model page, there is a demo. So this is a model, and this is a demo model. So this is how you will show a dialog when upload button is clicked. And inside the dialog, you will have this drag and drop UI where user can either click on this or they can do they can drag file from their other window and they can drag file to this and they will click upload. So then once they click upload, you will show a progress bar also here. I don't have the mockup wireframe for that, but here you can show some kind of progress bar like please wait, your file is being uploaded, and you'll send the file to the server. You'll upload the server. Okay. So once a user has uploaded the file, that file also will come into this uploaded files list. And here from here they can do share. Okay. And this final thing, this screenshot is for the share dialog. So when I click so if I click share on this another file, this is how the share dialog will look. So to share the file, we are basically showing the permalink for this file. So this is nothing but localhost 5000 will be your development. So instead of localhost 5000, your development domain or your production domain will come here. And we are saying /file /5f. So this will be some kind of a unique ID, primary key in MongoDB. And this is called this is something called that is called a slug, guys. I want you to pay attention for this part also. So this is called a slug. Okay. You can read about it. Slug. Oops. Slug. Okay, so this is called the URL slug. Okay, I don't know why they have named it slug, but you can read about it. So this is like some kind of description. When I click before clicking on this link, so I know what to expect based on this. Okay, so this is nothing but this file name itself without any spaces and dots. So we have basically replaced all the special characters with dashes, and we have converted everything to lowercase. So that is the URL slug. Okay, so this will be the share dialog, guys. And finally, this will be the download UI, which is if I open this URL in another tab, I should see this kind of UI. Okay, and I'll see this page only if I'm logged in. The user will see this page only if they are logged in. If they are not logged in, they will not see this page. They will directly go to the login page. So they must log in before they come to this page. After logging in, if they open this URL, they will see this kind of UI with a download button, and will show the same file details here, and they'll have a download button. When I click on download, it should download the file like how generally our browsers download the file. I'm sure you understand that. So those are the mockups, guys. Okay. So now before going through here, so since some of you may not have experience with HTML, I just want to show some things related to HTML, and that is like so. Okay, so how HTML works, I'm sure all of you know how you know the basics, like the fundamentals of what is HTML and what is CSS. Okay, so HTML is nothing but it's like some kind of code like this. It's XML code. Okay, and it is rendered in the browser and it is shown in a particular way in this browser when I open it. So for this project, let's write some HTML file, basic HTML file here. Okay, so if you don't know what is HTML and what is CSS, if you don't know the basics, so you'll have to start at this W3 Schools link. So you'll have to go through all of these pages, learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, these three links. So you just go to this page and give a reading of all these things. Okay, so all these pages will contain documentation on different tags. So you will come to know about different tags that are there in HTML. Okay, so let's say I just write some. Okay, and in the body I write like a heading tag. Welcome. So this is a paragraph p tag. Okay, so I'm now saving this file somewhere. Let's save it in folder. Okay, so I'm saving it as test.html. I've saved it in this folder. So now I can go to that folder and I can right click and I can open it with Firefox web browser directly. So here, so this is like a basic overview of HTML. So you can see what has happened here. Our code is like this. It contains all these tags and all, but it is shown in this way. Okay, h2 is rendered in this way, p tag is rendered in this way. So similarly, you can add some more tags like italic tag. Okay, so you can have italic text. So don't forget to save, guys. You have to save after each edit. So if you reload, so here you can see there is italic text and all. So this is like basic HTML that is rendered. So now so to show you Bootstrap also, what I'll do, so Bootstrap has this CDN link. You can just you can add this link in your head section. So since we have linked this, our file will now have these Bootstrap styles. So now I'll just come back and I'll just reload it. So here you can see the style has changed, the fonts and the spacing, like some change has occurred in the design. So that is because Bootstrap styles are loaded. You can see that using inspect element. If you click inspect element and you inspect this, here you can see there is Bootstrap CSS is now active on this page. Okay, so now to show you a little bit of Bootstrap also here. So now I'll copy this code for this success alert. Okay, so a simple success alert. I'll just copy this code. I'll put it below this italic text and I'll save it. So I'm saving it. Now I'll come here and reload. So here you can see we have got that same alert, success alert, whatever is there here, we are able to get it here. So now, so there is container class also, something called container classes. You will have to read about it on your own. So it is in layout grid. Here you will find containers and all, container row call, which is very important. And this is called grid or layout. And you can find tutorials in YouTube. I say you watch some video on this grid, okay, so to get an understanding of the grid. But now here I'm putting everything in a container. So you can see I'm using a div. Okay, so I've put everything in a container now. Okay, so I'll just reload it. So here you can see, so this our content is now wrapped automatically in like a good looking container. This is how you will see a lot of websites, like boxed websites. So this is how they're working. So now this is like a blank slate for you guys. That is why I said design wise you can be as creative as you want. So all these things. So if you go to this H2, you can style it using CSS. Okay, so you can write some style here. Here you write style for H2. So the language and syntax you'll have to learn from W3 schools of HTML and CSS syntax. So here I'll write font size. I want font size to be 30 pixels, very big, and I want color to be something blue. Okay, or yeah, blue is fine. And I want background to be yellow. Okay, so I'm saving it and now I'll reload it. So here you can see I've changed how it looks using CSS. So this is like the basics of HTML and CSS. Okay, so in this video I can show you that only, but I strongly want you to try. Okay, want you to try on your own. You write like an HTML file and you try to design a one page, and in that page you put all these different items from Bootstrap documentation. If you, let's say, so there is this collapse, you can put this collapse. So this nav bar is actually a good start. Okay, so this nav bar is nothing but this nav bar, guys. This is called nav bar, this part. So I'll just copy this entire thing now. So I'm just copying this entire code and I'm pasting it inside my container at the top. So I've pasted this entire block. Okay, and now I'll save it and I'll reload it. So you can see now I have a navbar in my own website, and I can customize all these links and all. I can change it here. So instead of navbar, I can say my files. Okay, and basically, so there are some utilities also in Bootstrap that I want you to check. So there is margin utilities, there is padding utilities. I think so. It will be somewhere in here. Okay. Or else you can check it in WT schools, or you can watch somewhere, you can watch it. But all these classes will be HTML1, which is margin left, which gives some margin left, MT0, which gives some margin top. So for just to have some spacing between this navbar and my heading, I'll put a class here, and I'll add this MT2 class, MT-2. And I'll come back and I'll reload it. So you can see now there is a margin between this navbar and between this H2. So now I think this is I think you now have a fair understanding of what Bootstrap is doing. So with these classes, it is basically controlling how it all looks. Okay, that is what Bootstrap is doing, and that is why in this tutorial we want you to use Bootstrap. Okay? Because these things will be very useful to you later when you build other apps also. Okay. Now let's go to the next critical part of our application, guys. So in this project, you'll be using MongoDB as the database. So MongoDB, you'll have to install it from MongoDB link, MongoDB community server. So here you'll go to this link and you'll download your on-premise community server. You'll have to download it and install MongoDB and make sure MongoDB is running in your computer. And after you have MongoDB, you can do this PiMongo tutorial. There's a PiMongo tutorial to access that database from Python code. Okay, so this basically shows you how to access that database from Python code. And at the same time, to access this MongoDB locally, you'll have to download this software called Robo3T. So here you can connect to your MongoDB and go through different databases that are there, and go through. You can create all these databases collections, and you can create documents from here. Insert document. You can create collections from here. Okay, so and you can edit existing documents from here. So MongoDB also you'll have to get familiar with. It is nothing but it is similar to SQL, but in the sense in SQL there are rows, and in MongoDB there are documents, JSON documents basically. That's the only difference. So just like in SQL there is an ID for each row, in MongoDB there will be an underscore ID field which will be unique. It's an object ID field. Okay. So now, so in this document, I've also written some basic data structure that you will need to implement this application. So in this, I think if you have done the crawler project as well. So in that project, we had only one field, which is the links. But here in this is like a bit more complex application than a simple crawler. So here we are dealing with the different kinds of data. Like one is the user's data here, which we'll be using for login and sign up. And here we are storing files data, and in the download page, and here in the permalink and the download page, we are tracking. The system needs to track downloads. So basically, whenever this download happens, we have to store it in the database somewhere saying the download has happened. So that is what is documented here. I'm sure you will understand this. So if you have any doubts here in this part, you can post it in the Telegram group once again. Okay. So these are the things of users. So each user will be having like an email, password, name. Okay. I think name is not used in the UI, so you can omit this name also. It is not important for now. You'll have to store the last login date for each user, and you'll have to store the when this user signed up, the created date, and there's an updated at also. And there is a user tokens table. So this, for understanding this, you read a little bit about token based authentication. So for each user, whenever they log in from a new system, right, I let's say I have a user account in your service, and I log into your UI. So then what will happen is we'll be creating a token. Okay. and whoever gives that token, based on that token will be identifying the user, and this token will be stored in something like the cookie or the session, cookie or session, you can store it in either one. So based on this token, like whoever sends this token, the server will think that it is me. Okay, so let's say I log in into your system and you create a token for me for my user ID. So anybody, if you get this token, if the server receives this token from anywhere, tomorrow I could use this token from my phone, and it will still show this. It will still think that this is that token is this user. So it should always it should store this token forever. This token you'll be using for identifying the user. And the third collection is the actual files collection, where we'll be using we'll be storing all the file information, like who uploaded this file, what was the original file name, what is the file type, and what is the file hash. So now there is this hash, guys, something called hash. So this is SHA-256 algorithm. We'll be using SHA-256 algorithm for hashing. So this file hash means that every file, based on the contents, based on its binary contents, will have like a unique hash. Okay, so each file, you might have seen it when you download some open source modules or some software. You might have seen MDA checksum or SHA-256 checksum, because so that checksum uniquely identifies each file. So this file hash, though we are not using at this point we are not using this hash anywhere, you'll still store this hash. And this is for you to understand what is this SHA-256 checksum and all. Okay, and here also you'll not be storing passwords in plain text. You will be storing passwords in SHA-256 encrypted form. Okay, and the fourth collection is the file download. At what time. So our system will be storing all of this data. For each download, it will track which user downloaded which file and at what time. That's it. So here I have given some tools and resources, like what you need to get started on this project. You read about it. So this is like an introduction session. So we are not digging deep into how you get started and how you start the actual code and all. So you use this time to study and try Flask in your own system. You try creating a Flask app and try making some HTML. Try doing some Bootstrap code, okay, in your local system, and see how it is working and how it is all showing up. Whenever you write some HTML code, you see how it is getting rendered in the browser. So once you do this, then we'll have another intro session. But don't wait for the intro session. If you understand things, you start working on the project. Yeah. So all these things, you can go through these links. I've shared some useful videos also. So if you're facing difficulty and if you want, so there are multiple ways to learning. So if you want to watch videos and learn, then you can always watch these videos. Or else, you can just start doing the project, and you can just Google for everything. You use Google search or internet search for everything. So you can say how to write a Flask app. Okay. So here, so instead of watching the videos, here you can study these blog articles. Okay, so here in all these articles you'll find starter code. So this is how a Flask app is made. Okay, so here you can start from this and you can slowly start building. Okay, now you can say how to render HTML in a Flask app. Okay, and you can read about it. You can read about Flask templates. You will have a lot of information. I mean, you can read and learn, or else you can watch and learn. But finally, you will have to do it. So that is the goal of this project, is to make you do it. Okay. So even after watching or even after reading, so you will not learn much, but by doing, you will learn this entire thing. So at open source modules, regarding open source modules, we have fixed these Flask framework, Bootstrap framework, and MongoDB. So these things are fixed. But apart from these things, you are free to use any other open source modules that can help you in building this application. So, I mean, using third-party applications is like a critical part of development. It is a very important part, and you should be comfortable using. You should be comfortable integrating with other third-party tools into your system. So this drag and drop so this drag and drop plugins, okay. And in your JavaScript, you can also include jQuery for easier code. So all these are third-party open source modules. You're free to use all of any of these as you wish. And this is the submission details. I think this is pretty clear. So once you have the app running, you finish the code, you can push your code into GitHub and you can send me the link. You can directly send me the link and I'll be evaluating and getting back to you with feedback. So finally, there are some notes. So application configuration must be present in a separate cfg.py file. So this is because application configuration means some hard coded constants like so in my IMDb project, I think you have this link, or else I'll be sharing this link anyway. So in this code, you can see there is a cfg.py and there's a logger.py. So both of these, you can use these files directly from here. So this config dictionary, right, it contains like runtime configuration variables. Whatever configuration variables we need, we can store it here. Okay. So like the MongoDB connection URI, rather than hard coding it at different places, that localhost 27017, you can just put it in the config file and use it from here. And similarly, if you have like app name, this app name here, okay, this, for example, this app name my box. So instead of writing my box everywhere in your code, you can just put it in config called app name and you can use this variable in all your views and backend code. And similarly, these requirements, like, yeah, so there is this 20 MB limit, 300 MB limit, and all these file types that are allowed. All these things are application configuration, so you'll have to put it in a config file. So that tomorrow, let's say our system should accept MP4 also. We decide that okay, from today we'll be allowing videos and audios. So then it should not be like we go into the code and we find all the places where there is MP3 and we integrate it that way. It should just be like configurable, saying okay, MP3 are allowed. So I'll just add MP3 to some array and it should start accepting MP3. So the system should be like, you should make it easy. That is the goal, to modify it later. That is why we are using application config. Okay, and so this is one important point is that is, you must use virtual environment to create a virtual environment for the app and add a requirements.txt file for dependencies. So rather than just jumping into code and starting with main.py, directly starting with that is a starter code. First thing you'll have to do is you'll have to create a virtual environment for the project. So I think there is some link also that I have shared. So here on using virtual environment. So this link has some commands. They have demoed some commands on how to create virtual environment and how to install dependencies in your virtual environment, and finally how to create a requirements.txt based for managing your dependencies. So you go through that and you must create a virtual environment for developing this project. Okay. And the next thing is you must build a secure authentication flow. Okay, and by secure I mean it should not be easily hackable. Okay, and what I mean by hackable is I should not be able to bypass authentication completely in your system. Okay, just by passing some just by doing some tricks like let's say I do question mark user is equal to something and I'm able to log in. So that should not be the case. And similarly, let's say if you store like user name or user email address in cookies, okay, here I can just create a different, I can modify my own cookies. Okay, so if you see, so this is my cookie for this document. If you store the username in cookie, like username is or email is user@mail.com. If you store this in cookie, so this becomes an insecure system, because tomorrow I can just set this to other user, at mail.com, and I'll be logged in as other user if I refresh. So this authentication flows should not be easily hackable. You will have to put some concentration into building a secure authentication system. And so this is like token based authentication is the hint for you. Using tokens will lead to a secure authentication system. You can read about it online. Yeah. And finally, after you complete this project, if you satisfy all the problem details, then we'll be providing you the certificate. And the problem by problem details, so this is the part we need here. So all these are the problem details. So the web app must be secure, should show a list of files. The user should be able to upload new files through drag and drop, limit the file types uploaded, maximum file size is there, and the user they should be able to download files but not publicly, only after signing. So all these are the system requirements. If you fulfill all the system requirements, we'll consider the project is successful. And finally, you do not check in any sensitive information like usernames and passwords into your GitHub repositories while pushing. So if you use localhost 27017 MongoDB, if let's say you have authentication for your local instance, sometimes you forget and you might expose your usernames and passwords. So do not push it into your repository. It will stay there forever. So that's it, guys. So let's, if you have any queries, you can post it in the chat box.
Yeah, Anant. So there are some
Queries.
queries from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll just read them to you because there are a lot of chat.
Okay.
So initially, why did you choose MongoDB instead of MySQL? Like, so can you elaborate on it?
Yeah. So in the Python crawler project, we actually gave the student to choose their own database. But in this project, we are fixing it to MongoDB. There are multiple reasons for it. So I think a lot of our so they're not experienced with a database earlier. So for them to understand SQL and all, I think it's a bit complicated. So that is why we are going with MongoDB. In fact, and using MongoDB will make it fairly easy for my evaluation as well. So I have this reason. Even I am one reason for choosing MongoDB. So if you have MySQL, what happens is creating tables and creating SQL file. SQL, you'll have to upload some SQL file, okay, to import the initial models. So all that is that work is reduced when we use MongoDB. So that is why we chose to use MongoDB in this project. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, let me just check.
So yeah, I mean, it is easy to get started with. That is the reason, and most of our target audience is like they are just getting started with programming. So we want them to have something easy so that they can get started and quickly build product.
Right.
That's it.
And in the bigger picture, is there an advantage? I think a lot of companies are implementing MongoDB these days. Right? So what is the advantage?
Yeah, so there are advantages like MongoDB is schema-less, so that is one major advantage we have. Even in FlinkHub, we use MongoDB. So the reason is, since it is schema-less, we don't know what kind of data we'll be storing in the future, right? So our model is changing with time, and we can't be adding new fields, removing certain fields. So that is one reason why we choose MongoDB, is because we can add fields on the fly tomorrow. We can just add a new field and we can get started. I mean, it just works. And one more reason we use MongoDB is because of a lot of field types basically. So we can directly store arrays and nested objects.
Right. Right.
Of
So,
constraints when you want to store nested data.
right. So Himanshu had asked earlier, like, how is the file type checked? Is it just using extension, or is there something else?
Okay, so when you come to handling file uploads, so let's see, guys. Even I don't remember any programs. So I just do search on the fly and I do it. So let's see how to check uploaded file type in Flask. Okay, so when you do this, you'll find some links which say, upload example, okay, file uploading and all the. In this documentation, you'll find some code that will help you. So let's say here they have created a Flask app. So here you can see they have set some allowed extensions, and here you can see this is the upload file. So here let's see if they are accessing the file type somewhere. No. So here, so they have file name. Okay, so maybe the file name has an extension. Okay, so so yeah, here it is. So here, this is how they are accessing the file extension basically. So they got the file, and so here they do if file and allowed file of file name. So based on the file name, they are extracting this extension, and they're checking if that file name extension, if that extension is an allowed extension or not. So this is one example. You can go to another example where I think, yeah. So this is also they've copied it from here itself basically. So this is how you can get the file extension, and you can see this is if this is a doc or docx or whatever. So yeah, I mean, whenever you have such doubts, you can use the internet. You can just put your query over there, and you can go to these links and see what they have tried to do. So here, yeah. So here, this is another example, guys. So this is like, so type of f is their file name. So you can just split the file name with dot. Okay. So here you can see they have extracted this extension. So you can use this way. So similarly, you can get the file type.
So I guess that's it. So I think like, so this was an overview of the project. So guys, if you like, we are not going into the detail in this session. So again, to summarize, I think Anant, like we can just summarize, like what the project is before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
And for those who have, like, a lot of you have already enrolled with us. Like, we'll have an intro session which will be more detailed, and in the sense that how to, like, literally get started will be explained there. So don't worry if you haven't understood much in the session, but you'll definitely understand enough to get started in the next session for those who have enrolled.
Yeah,
So
I mean, don't wait for us, guys.
yeah,
You
and
can
like, yeah,
always
if
get
you,
started
you
with
have
studying.
understood, and yeah, I mean, some of you would be at a stage where you have these concepts clear, and like you, from the doc itself you can understand, and it's quite intuitive, and you can get started. So do that, the earlier the better. And yeah, and like we'll have another session soon. And meanwhile, like for the others, like we have shared the doc and the project in the description. So the doc itself would be sufficient for a lot of people probably to build a project. So we would highly recommend, if you can do it on your own, like, to build projects like this, because currently the situation is such that unless you have projects where you have built things from scratch, like your profile simply doesn't stand out. Like, courses and course certificates everybody has, and like, the only way for you to stand out, especially to get jobs in startups which are hiring a lot these days, is for you to have projects. So like, either start with something smaller, or if you have already done smaller projects, do bigger projects like these, and slowly you will land a job as a software developer. So Anand, do you want to summarize quickly,
Yeah,
and then we'll wrap it up? Yeah.
yeah. So I have one more thing to add on what you just said. So, and that is, so if any of the viewers, okay, or if you're enrolled in this program and you're not able to get started, so my suggestion to you is, you watch our yesterday's session as well, which was getting started on the Python crawler project. And what I told you today about this HTML and all, so this should be you should be able to get started from here. Okay, so if you're not able to get started, still you will need to like go through some more programming fundamentals, and then only it will happen. So, but yeah, if if these concepts are clear to you, then you can just get started and you can start doing this project, and you can always post your queries in the Telegram group. And we will also be having some follow-up sessions to this project, like at 7 p.m. some days we'll be posting that in the group. So in those sessions you can ask me doubts based on your implementation. If you're stuck in your implementation, you can ask me those doubts and we'll be clearing those doubts. But to get started, there is I understand, not all of you are like at the same level. So some of you, this today's session may be enough for some of you to get started, and for some of you it may not be enough. But so okay, if it's not enough, then I strongly suggest you go through some our yesterday's session, and today what I told about getting started in HTML and Bootstrap. So from this you should be able to get started. Yeah.
Yeah. So Anant, like, do we wrap it up, or is there like a quick summary we can do?
Yeah, sure. So I think the summary is like, so we'll be building a file sharing application, guys, and so this application should be like Dropbox or Google Drive. You've seen such applications already. So it should have like a login sign up system. New users can sign up and create their own accounts, and after creating an account, they'll be able to log in. And after login, they should see the list of the files they upload, and they should be able to upload new files. And in that document we have limited file types. Okay, so we are not allowing the user to upload all kinds of files. We have some limited file types that we are allowing user to upload. And finally, the user can share these files through a link. So each file will be having their own link, its own link. And that link, when I share it with somebody else, so that person also can download the file after logging in. Okay, so these downloads will not be public, and we'll be tracking everything, like who is downloading what file. That should be tracked in the system. So that is the project.
Right. Great. Hope you guys got a clear understanding of the project. As we discussed, it's a proper full stack development project where uh, you will understand the backend, where using Python Flask and MongoDB database, and also you will be working on a UI to basically for users to access the file sharing app. So great, like use this video, in case you want to go back and refer to the overview of the project. And like Anand said, you can refer to other videos to there is another video of the Python web crawler project where he has gone into more detail on how to get started. For instance, like how to install Python, how to install MongoDB, how to how to write those first files on MongoDB. So uh, refer to that video, if you're getting stuck about getting started. And do like, share, and subscribe this video, and subscribe to this channel, because like we'll be doing more projects. This is like an intermediate project. There was a beginner project where you build a web crawler using Python, a Google like web crawler. So we'll be coming up with more projects in software and data science. And like, do watch out in this space. Like, do subscribe so that you are aware of when we get started on the next project, or when we do our next session. Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.